Imagine a world where every choice you've ever made, from what you had for breakfast to who you married, wasn't truly your choice. A world where your decisions were merely the inevitable outcome of a trillion tiny electrical impulses, predetermined long before you even felt you made up your mind. Sounds like science fiction, right? What if I told you neuroscience is whispering it might be closer to reality than you think? Welcome to News, where we unravel the mysteries of the universe, one mind-bending question at a time. And today, we're diving deep into perhaps the most fundamental question of human existence. Is free will an illusion? Get ready, because your understanding of yourself might be about to change forever. For centuries, philosophers have debated free will. It's an idea deeply ingrained in our laws, our morality, and our everyday experience. We punish criminals because we believe they chose to do wrong. We praise heroes because we believe they chose to do good. The very fabric of our society is woven with the thread of personal responsibility, a responsibility that hinges entirely on the notion that we are free agents. We feel like we're in control. We feel like we weigh options, deliberate, and then consciously make a decision. But what if that feeling is just a feeling? What if it's a sophisticated trick played by our own brains? This is where neuroscience enters the stage, and it brings some rather unsettling evidence with it. The first major crack in the intuitive fortress of free will came from a series of groundbreaking and frankly mind-boggling experiments. The Libet experiment, 1983, the granddaddy of them all. Back in the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted a now famous experiment. He asked participants to perform a simple task: spontaneously flex their wrist whenever they felt the urge. While they did this, their brain activity was monitored using EEG, specifically looking for something called the readiness potential, or RP, a surge of brain activity that precedes voluntary movement. Crucially, participants also had to note the exact moment they became aware of their intention to move using a rapidly rotating clock. The astonishing finding: the readiness potential, the brain activity signaling the impending movement, consistently appeared hundreds of milliseconds, around 300 to 500 milliseconds, before the participants reported having a conscious intention to move their wrist. Think about that. Your brain had already initiated the action before you were even aware you were going to do it. It was as if your brain had already made the decision, and your conscious mind was just playing catch-up, perhaps rationalizing a choice that had already been executed at a subconscious level. Now, the Libet experiment wasn't perfect, and it sparked decades of debate. But what's fascinating is how subsequent research, using more advanced techniques, has largely corroborated and even amplified these findings. Chun-Seong Soon and colleagues in 2008 predicting choices seconds in advance. In a landmark 2008 study published in Nature Neuroscience, Chun-Seong Soon and his team took it a step further. They used fMRI, a more precise brain imaging technique, and asked participants to freely choose to press either left or right button. They found activity in the prefrontal and parietal cortex that predicted the participants' decisions up to 10 seconds before the conscious choice was reported. This wasn't just a twitch. This was a complex decision, and their brains seemed to have it mapped out long before they became aware of choosing. Itchok-Fried and colleagues in 2011, single neuron predictions. Even more recently, in 2011, Itchok-Fried and his colleagues went right into the brain using electrodes implanted in patients undergoing epilepsy surgery. They found that the activity of individual neurons in the supplementary motor area could predict a person's decision to press a button a full 700 milliseconds before they were even consciously aware of making the decision. These aren't isolated incidents. They are part of a growing body of evidence suggesting that our conscious will might be more of an interpreter or an observer than the ultimate decider. So, if our decisions are being made before we're consciously aware of them, what does that mean for free will? It pushes us toward a more deterministic view of the brain. Imagine the brain as an incredibly complex biological machine. Every thought, every feeling, every decision is the product of electrical signals and chemical reactions between billions of neurons. These processes follow the laws of physics and chemistry. One neuron fires, it causes another to fire, and so on. A causal chain. It's like a sophisticated supercomputer. If you know all the inputs, all the algorithms, all the current states, theoretically, you could predict its output. If our brains are ultimately physical systems, then perhaps our choices are just the inevitable output of our genetic makeup, our past experiences, and the current state of our brain, all interacting according to physical laws. This perspective suggests that you, your conscious self, are not the prime mover, but rather a product of these underlying processes. The feeling of "I choose" might just be your brain's way of presenting the outcome of a complex subconscious computation as a personal decision. But hold on, this isn't the end of the story. Philosophy, with its millennia of grappling with these questions, offers crucial counterarguments and nuances that prevent us from a simple, definitive, free will is dead pronouncement. Defining free will, the compatibilist perspective. Much of the debate hinges on how we define free will. If free will means I could have chosen otherwise, even if all the exact same conditions were present, then indeed neuroscience presents a huge challenge. This is often called libertarian free will. However, many philosophers are compatibilists. They argue that free will can coexist with a deterministic universe. They define free will not as the ability to defy the laws of physics, but as the ability to act according to one's own desires, reasons, and intentions without external coercion. For a compatibilist, if you decided to watch this video because you were genuinely curious and interested, that counts as a free choice, even if that curiosity and interest were themselves determined by your brain's wiring and past experiences. The choice was yours in the sense that it originated from your internal states, not because someone held a gun to your head. The role of consciousness, not just a bystander. Another point of contention is the precise role of consciousness. While Libet showed consciousness lagged behind the readiness potential, some argue that consciousness still plays a crucial role in vetoing or modifying urges. We might have an initial urge, but our conscious mind can step in and say no. Libet himself acknowledged this free won't, the ability to consciously inhibit an action. Even if the initiation is subconscious, the conscious mind might still be the final arbiter, acting as a gatekeeper. So, if we lean into the idea that free will is largely an illusion, or at least far less free than we perceive, what are the profound implications for our society, our legal systems, and our sense of self? Morality and responsibility. If we are not truly free, can we hold people morally responsible for their actions? Is a criminal truly to blame if their brain was simply following a predetermined script? This could lead to a radical shift in our justice systems, moving from punishment to rehabilitation, focusing on understanding the causes of behavior rather than assigning blame. Purpose and meaning. Does it diminish our sense of purpose? If our achievements, our struggles, our loves are all predetermined, does life lose its luster? Or can we find meaning in the intricate dance of cause and effect that makes us who we are, appreciating the beautiful complexity of the biological machine that is the human brain? Self-perception. Perhaps the biggest impact is on our self-perception. The idea of being the captain of our own ship is deeply comforting. To accept that we might be more like passengers navigating a predetermined course requires a massive mental adjustment. But it also opens doors to a deeper understanding of ourselves and others, fostering empathy and reducing judgment. Despite the compelling neuroscience, the debate is far from over. There are still vast unknowns. Quantum indeterminacy. Some argue that quantum mechanics introduces genuine randomness at the subatomic level, which could potentially trickle up to influence brain activity, offering a tiny crack for non-deterministic choices, though many physicists are skeptical of this link to free will. The hard problem of consciousness. We still don't fully understand how conscious experience arises from physical brain matter. Until we crack that hard problem, definitively explaining free will remains elusive. Complexity and emergence. Could free will be an emergent property of highly complex systems, something that arises from the intricate interactions of billions of neurons, even if individual neurons are deterministic? Like how a flock of birds moves as one, even though each bird follows simple rules. The truth is, we are still on the frontier of understanding the human mind. Neuroscience is giving us unprecedented insights, challenging our deepest assumptions. Philosophy is providing the frameworks for us to interpret these findings and ask even deeper questions. Perhaps the question isn't whether free will is real or an illusion in a binary sense, but rather, what kind of freedom do we possess? Is it an absolute freedom, or a constrained, yet profoundly meaningful kind of freedom that arises from the incredible complexity of our own minds?
So, what do you think? Does the scientific evidence make you question your own choices? Or do you firmly believe in the power of conscious will? This isn't just an academic debate. It's a fundamental inquiry into what it means to be human. And the journey to uncover the truth is one we embark on together here at Vera News. If this video blew your mind even a little, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Vera News, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the mysteries of existence. And most importantly, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective is crucial to this conversation. Thank you for watching, and remember, the universe is full of questions, and we're just getting started.